someone a lot smarter than me once said that the left doesn't want to win the debate. The left wants to cancel the debate.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, I mentioned that only in the context of one of the policies that you put forward during the leadership race. And that was to cancel federal funding of universities that don't embrace freedom of speech, because we've seen a number of perhaps troubling instances happening on campuses across the country. How would you propose to do that? Because for the pundit class like me, that was one of the biggest knocks against you, was how would he propose to do something like that from a federal level when the funds are dispersed from a provincial level? Not to get too much in the weeds about it, but I'm curious how you would accomplish something like that.
Well, it's actually very specific, and it's not. This isn't aimed at the provincial funding levels that universities get the vast majority of their support from. But there are the national research grants, and those are allocated to universities based on a set of criteria. And the Liberals have just basically endorsed the thought behind my program, because they have said that universities would lose their national research grant funding if they don't reach diversity targets. So they've already acknowledged that the mechanism is valid to achieve a policy goal. And I just believe that free speech is just as important as those other goals that the Liberals are trying to achieve. I believe that universities, I mean, when you look at the histories of universities, they were created to have those debates. They were there where people could challenge orthodoxy and debate key issues, and there's nothing was left untouched. And over the past 10 years, we see more and more examples of radical groups shutting down the debate. And I always believe that you've won the argument with someone on the left when they stop arguing the merits of the point, and they just start into the personal attacks. If you don't agree with me 100%, then you must be a terrible human being. And we see a lot of students who aren't able to form campus clubs, invite in guest speakers. We've had instances in Canada of, for example, a former Prime Minister of Israel not being able to give a talk on Middle Eastern issues because a group of students threatened violence, and we can't allow that to happen. So I'll be putting forward kind of specifically exactly how that will work, but generally speaking, I believe that the burden is on university administrators to make sure that there's a climate on campus where students are free to express themselves. I don't agree with everything that's said on campus. There's some things that are said in some clubs that exist. I mean, I find odious in that I may protest if I were a student. I might be out there holding a sign protesting it, but not shutting it down. The protest is just as much a part of the free speech as the lecture, but it's where they cross that line into threatening violence or rioting and physically assaulting people. That's where universities have an obligation to step in and maintain that climate of free speech.